I think I did something wrong again there, but this is the new Patriot Report show. I'm just gonna play the intro here. Ah, there we go. Let's see. Hang on, I think we do this, and now it should work. Sorry. Let's play the intro here.
You are listening to the Patriot Report with your hosts PeterSweden and Red Pale Phil, bringing you the most important stories from around the globe. Real news.
I'm very proud of that photo.
Giving you the truth about what is happening in our world today. 100% fan funded, so you know that you're getting the unbiased news that you deserve.
Yes, that is the... I managed to play the trailer there, finally. This is the Patriot Report with me, PeterSweden, and my co-host, Red Pill Phil. Hopefully you can see him this time. We tried it before. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but it should be working now. Do you want to say hi, Phil? Let's see if people can see you this time.
Hello, guys. How's everyone doing? Hope you can hear me and see me.
I
don't know whether that's a benefit or a hindrance at this point, but we'll see.
I think people can see you now, so that's perfect. So yeah, we are back. Finally, we can do this after some minor adjustments we had to figure out there in the beginning. Yeah, it's not that easy to do a live stream show like this. It's quite hard, actually. There's a lot of things that goes into this. A lot of things. I've been preparing now for like 5 hours for this. So yeah, so I hope you guys appreciate this. We are doing our new Patriot Report, first live episode with me and Red Pill Phil. We will be going through the most important news topics of the week, and we will be reporting on them from a red pill perspective. You get the honest truth, no fake news here. Here you get the real news. So please share a link with this live stream with all your friends on social media, so we get more viewers, because hopefully this will turn into something big. We're going to do this in at least weekly, I hope, maybe twice a week, and we will aim to do this regularly, so you guys can expect a lot more of these uploads. Yes, I think we can dive right into our news topics of the day. What do you think, Phil?
I'm ready to go when we are, Peter. Let's have it.
Excellent. Let's. I have the live chat up here, by the way, so I can see what you guys are saying. If you have any comments, if there's any good comments that you have here in the live chat, I might read them up on screen. Yeah, I think I want to kick off with obviously what happened in Charlottesville this last weekend. There was some alt-right rally, Unite the Right rally that was taking place. I think it was about 1,000 right-wing guys who were there. They were protesting for this General Lee statue. So there was this Confederate general. Obviously, a Confederate. He was fighting for the southern side. Against America, basically. So there's this Confederate monument of General Lee that they protested. They wanted to keep it up because the city had decided to tear it down. Which I think. What do you think, Phil? Phil. What do you think?
Well, you got 50% of my name right, mate. So don't worry about it. No. Well, firstly, thanks for allowing me this opportunity. It's great, and it's brilliant working with you, Peter. Right, that march, what do I think? I think whether we as an individual like what somebody has got to say, what somebody stands for, we still have got to give them the right to say it. and the right to exercise their freedoms. That march, whether I agree with the General Lee, his policies back in the day, that is history. It might not be nice history, but all the same, it is history.
Yeah,
it's,
I mean,
it's got to.
Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, it's got to stay there just for the fact it's got to be a reminder of maybe a time and a place when, you know, if things wasn't so brilliant, and then we could look back and go, well, look how we've socially changed, look how this has changed. So I do believe it's important. You can't just rearrange history to suit your narrative. And I think that's what they're trying to do now. They're trying to press that default button on what America stands for, I guess.
The left, they want to tear down all history. They want to remove all history. As Trump said, if we remove the statue of General Lee, then we had to remove statues of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, because they were slave owners as well. Yeah. And that's not... I mean, they were the ones that founded America. I mean, America, and you know, you can't just tear down statues of them.
Well, if we're talking... Okay, let's get into the mode of thinking where anyone who had slaves or was attributed to slaves over generations, let's demonize them every time, you know, there's a statue or there's a quote, let's remove it. Not only is that a frightening thought, but you can't just stop in America, surely.
No,
if we're going to do it.
There's many statues that have of people with questionable history. I mean, are you just going to go and tear down everything? I mean, and if you tear down the statues, you won't learn from history as well.
Exactly.
You'll make the same mistakes again. You know, you have a statue there. People can talk about it. Okay, this guy he was a good military man. But he owned slaves. That was a bad thing. You know, you can learn from history, see what he did, what things he did good, what things he did bad, and learn from that. You know.
Of course, there's no other way, Peter. You just can't redefine the terms of what we were all about, you know.
Yeah.
There's some pretty things, there's some not so pretty things, and we've got to take stock from them both in order to be a more well-balanced individual. Not with today's society where they really want to eradicate all the negative aspects of past lives to the point where it's so cleansed and desensitized. What kind of society does that turn you into if that's how you regard history? It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Now,
and you know, Martin Luther King, he was against gay marriage, so the left gonna tear down his statue as well.
Yeah. Well, this is it. If you work on both sides, then just imagine how that would go down if, you know, people were just to flip it and turn the other way. So you can't, whether you agree with it or not. I mean, I think it's just a part of history. I don't agree with it. I don't disagree with it. It's just a part of history. There's many people, many icons over the time that we might have celebrated, but they've got a dark secret. That just goes on, and we need to know that. It needs to be transparent, but I just don't see the point in now, over the last, 5 years, this campaign of... Well, I do see it because it's just left-wing agitation that's informing probably largely uneducated people, but there's a lot that's being steered from highly intellectual people just to how to demonize America in this way and just use it again, you know. And that's the sad thing. It's
the social justice warriors. They want to change history. You know, George Orwell even wrote about it. You know, they were tearing down the statues, changing his. They're literally in 1994. That's literally what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think we all can agree that the statues should be there. You have to learn from history. You can't just tear down history. What do you think of the march itself? The guys, you know, there were about 1,000 people there. Many of them were alt-right, they call them. There were a few Nazis. There were actually a few genuine Nazis there as well. If they were agitators, if they were leftist plants, infiltrators, we don't know. But there were one guy with a swastika flag there as well. Obviously, that is completely stupid. But
he was obviously there and he didn't care. Now, it depends how you want to look at it. It's being regarded as a march full of hateful and bigoted people, and they've probably got the footage to show that. So they've got the narrative and they're pushing it out and they've got it documented as they want it framed. Now, the other way you could look at it. Sorry, Peter. Go on.
No, sorry. Go on. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, the other way you could look at it is that they may have purposely put strategic people in strategic places wearing certain, memorabilia, acting in a certain way. They may have had stooges that they've been winding up in these organisations that will act in a certain way as well. So for me, I think Trump kind of brought the truth out about the situation a bit late, because in the days after, he wasn't saying too much about both sides. He was almost forcing the alt-right because of it, and probably right, because the narrative was thrown out there, and they've got better media tools than anyone else, so if they can brainwash anyone. But then he later come out and said he's coming from both sides.
Yeah, I think Trump's statement was very good. He said that the violence was coming from both sides, but especially the alt-left, the Antifa guys. I think they are usually the ones that are the violent ones. And as Trump said, there were many normal good guys there, and I think he's right. There were most of the guys were normal good guys, but you had a few of these Nazi guys who I suspect might have been leftist infiltrators, because it's well known that in America, at least, you have these organizations, ADL, SPLC, they make up hoax Nazis, so you can try and smear everyone as right wing just as being Nazi, and they try and infiltrate with them. That's my suspicion.
Yeah, because we know it has gone on for so long, and Antifa, that really is exactly what you're talking about at the same time. They're supposed to be an organisation that's supposed to look after minorities, supposed to be patting them on the head, telling them they're good little boys, but at the same time aren't you being victims?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're running round and acting more racist and more violent and more fascist than anybody else.
As I think you have some experience of it, there's Ryan Breheny in here in the live chats that says that you know a bit about Antifa. In case anyone doesn't know your history with Antifa.
I think I'm talking with a little bit of experience on the side there, particularly if the small got red hair, they've got anti-fur badges but wear leather coats, and they tend to wear, Corbyn t-shirts. I can talk about that like an analyst. I've got all the experience on that. But it's just both sides for me. I mean, you could have in any march, you could have that 1% that, whether they've been put in there as a contaminant ingredient or whether they're just naturally buttheads that just want violence and want the end extreme. Yeah. There you go. There's my darling. Oh, I've missed her. I've really missed her.
Yeah, she has her Antifa badge, Corbyn shirt, Antifa. Yeah, she called you basically she called you a traitor to your own cause, which is kind of a racist thing to say.
Kind of, yeah. I would kind of just about racist statement. She called me a dickhead. She called me racist. She called me a traitor to my own sort. Well, she didn't call me racist. She called me a traitor to my own sort. Yeah. She called me a Nazi. And it was funny because someone commented on one of the YouTube pages recently saying, well, she didn't really call him Nazi, because if you watch the clip, the gentleman brought the word Nazi up first, but she was just less intelligent and just run with it.
Yeah, no, she was
Apple in the context would she use that word? I mean, she's fully in command of her own words, but she obviously felt that, but that aside, just some silly woman. So I have had slight experience in that.
Quite a bit,
yeah, but certainly Charlottesville. I mean, I do smell something very dodgy about that. I think it was set up to make it.
Especially with the car that ran into that girl, which was a horrible thing. Of course, we condone it 100. Not condone it. Condemn it. I mean, we condemn it completely 100%. It's a horrible thing. it's terrible. And
Well,
my English got mixed up there before. By the way, I said condone instead of condemn. I mean condemn. Condemn it. Of
yeah,
course.
I think that people know what you mean, mate. There's no one who actually can go, haha, I'm glad that happened, because that is just sick.
Anyone that does that, anyone who does that, anyone who thinks it's a good thing, I think you can look very suspiciously at that person. That's probably a plant, an infiltrator.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's one genuine message coming from that Charlottesville. People do not want their history erasing.
Yeah.
Now, do I like the chants? Do I like the hand gestures and holding up the torches? It doesn't look good. But at the same time, whether I like it or not, they have got the right to do it. For me to try to deny them that right only inflames it more. It really does, because it's going to make people feel more nationalist than they actually are.
Yeah.
You know,
I have a picture up on screen, by the way, of the Torch March.
Right.
If you missed it, there's a General Lee statue there.
Well, the media have tried to kind of correlate that with stuff that's gone on in the Ukraine and the old Nazis, and I get it, because when they do piece it together like that, it does look like that. And maybe these guys have done that for the desired effects. I don't know. At the same time, I don't care. They're not the number one threat at the moment. I do know that. I do know there's more things I need to worry about that's going to directly affect my children than a few geezers roaming around with torches, wanting to, you know, and I think they've got every right to do it, even though I don't like it.
And yesterday, I mean, look at how many, even if you would assume that there was about 1,000 people there at that rally, even if you assume that all 1,000 of them were Nazis, which they were not, many of them, there were only about 30 Nazis there. Something like that. But fair. Look at yesterday. There was another rally, a free speech rally, in Boston. So this was a free speech rally. So imagine that, free speech rally. Okay, and then we had some reports said 15,000 people, others said 40,000 people, leftists that came out to protest against a free speech rally. So basically,
crazy in itself.
So basically, if you believe in free speech, you are a Nazi now, according to the left. And they were beating up. There was a woman there with an American flag. They kicked her to the ground and beat her up.
It's just so polarized, and people are not critically thinking, and they're running away with sensationalism. I mean, the fact you just said freedom of speech. It's so Orwellian that freedom of speech is becoming hate speech. They're trying to make it seem that you shouldn't even have freedom of speech, because look how hateful it is when you speak your mind.
Yeah, I mean, we cannot have freedom of speech. We have to shut it down. You know, it's we have to be like Stalin. We have to go back to Soviet.
Yeah.
Anything that's against, anything that hurts their feelings, it's hate speech, and then that has to be shut down, obviously.
Yeah,
according
boot
to
on the head, and I don't mean, you know, physically. It's the boot on the head of the mind, because self-censorship is a big thing. When people who are not really engaged in politics, but they'll hear more and more about these stories, they will self-censor to the point where they won't even know who they are and what they can comment on and what they can't. You know, like George Orwell said, they want to take as many words out of the language as possible to concise it where nothing actually means anything anymore. You haven't got true freedom of expression, because everything will be amalgamated into a set amount of words.
Yeah, and that's exactly what political correctness is. Political correctness was actually invented by literal communists at the Frankfurt School. They were always they invented political correctness to stifle words that are against their ideology. So they invent things like, so they call everything racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynist, Nazi, all of these words. They just use it to try and silence the opposition. That's the tactic they use. I mean, and Mary here, by the way, has a good point here in the chat, in the live chat here. The media didn't paint it as a free speech rally. They painted it as a far right rally. So that, again, that's a very important point.
They're associating it. It's by association. They don't actually have to prove it. even though common sense people really require a bit more proof if you're going to call me a Nazi, da 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 da. But to the layman who's more interested in ants and deck and, you know, whatever else in life, if they hear a 2-minute caption and they see the words Nazi, Trump in the same sentence, and they keep hearing it on different news stories, freedom of speech, you know, Nazis, it will sink in to the point where you don't even have to read anything, because that will be your natural association as soon as that word. They're very clever. And they're hammering people with this all the time. You know, it's sad. It's sad to see that we're being manipulated on such a scale.
Yeah. No, that's what they're doing. The media, in a democracy, the media controls what people think largely. So the media, unfortunately, but the good thing now is that more and more people are waking up. They don't believe the mainstream media anymore as much as they used to. And I think Trump has been very good with helping with that. It's yeah, I mean, look at the media coverage there in Boston. The free speech rally goers, they're called far right. And then you have all the Antifa left-wing people that were actually beating up patriots on the street. Media is completely quiet. That's a strange thing. Antifa, they always get perfect PR, perfect media coverage every time. They can, I mean, they could probably murder a patriot and they will still get perfect PR from the media. But a couple of guys with swastika flags walking around in Charlottesville, media is Nazi, KKK rally, all right-wing Trump, all conservatives are Nazis. We have to impeach Trump, blah 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 blah. Trump is a horrible person. He hasn't condemned it yet. Horrible, horrible.
How can you how can you call that unbiased news? You know, because you can see who they are in alignment with, and that is the frightening thing. Now, same again, because of people that are not really politically illiterate, and they kind of don't want to be, because it's very sophisticated. I can understand why. It's very mentally draining, so I can understand why. But for my core being, I need to be a bit more informed so I can make better decisions. So that's why I choose to engross myself in it. So you can see how they have just totally turned and changed the narrative over. I do feel we need
the media. They because the thing is, what most people don't know about the media, many of them are Antifa. They literally are Antifa, many of them. In Sweden, all of the journalists in Sweden, they, when they were younger, it's well known, when they were younger back in the 60s and 70s, they were literally communists. They were in the Communist Party in Sweden. And they were out on the street beating up people.
Right.
And that's Sweden. And, you know, that's, I would say, is probably very similar for many journalists. They're extremely left-leaning. One example of the bias that I saw when I was in Sicily, I was reporting on one of these vessels coming in with migrants, and Vice News was there as well. They were actually working with the ship. I was just there by myself, and then they had Vice News, and they were working with the ship. And you could see the lady from Vice News. She had the camera. She was doing her report. Then when I turned off the camera, she took out her own private camera to do some photos, and she was looking at the migrants, and she was cheering them on. She was like, "Yay, yay!" So you could see they have, and that was behind camera. It was off camera. So these people are very biased. They have their own agenda, obviously, when they do that.
Yes,
I mean,
of course.
I didn't do anything like that when I was off camera. I was just there to see what was happening.
Right.
And then I got kicked out
well,
by the police.
That's why you got kicked out, because obviously you're starting to show people what's actually going on. They want to frame it all in a nice, lovely package and put the sympathy votes on it, and you can display it in a different way where it's not as they portray it to be.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, when we talk about the media, if anyone knows anything about Operation Paperclip, I mean, that alone tells you that there's been CIA infiltration within the media for many years. So who knows how far down the rabbit hole they are now. It certainly goes on still, because we do know that narratives are formed from very high places. We do know that they use the press and the media as a tool to rule foreign press if they want to destabilize a certain country.
Oh, yeah,
The media's are going to be a good way to do it, so they'll infiltrate that. I think what's most disturbing is that even though people will agree with that, the fact that they're turning their scopes on their own people and using these same tools that they've used abroad, propaganda tools and infiltration tools, they're now doing it on their own. And that is the worrying aspect when your own people that you believe that they've set up these organizations to help, you know, combat terrorism, combat war against foreign enemies. It's now every man, woman and child in that said population.
Yeah, if you haven't researched Operation Paperclip, I think that's a good thing. It's a well-known thing where back in the days in America, the CIA and so on were actually controlling the media in America. So that's something you should look up if you haven't researched that, guys. I think I want to go on to another topic here, if you don't mind, Phil.
Go for it.
The last 2 days, well, there's been some terror attacks, as you probably know. There was one in Barcelona and one in Finland the day after. So if you haven't caught up on the news, I'll just brief you quickly on what has been going on. So in Barcelona, there was a terror attack in the city of Cambrils in south of Barcelona. An attacker, he mowed down several people with the usual car van that they have unfortunately been using a lot recently. And it was actually, from what I could see, there was actually 13 people died and 130 injured, and it all started off with an explosion in a house in Alcanar, Tarragona, about 170 kilometers from Barcelona. One person was killed in an explosion, several injured, and police thinks it's related to the terror attack in Barcelona and Cambrils. So around 5 o'clock on a Thursday, a white van mowed down people on the popular tourist street La Rambla in Barcelona. Let's see if I have a photo of it for you so you can see. Yeah, here we are, La Rambla. It drove about 600 meters here on the street in Barcelona, yeah, so 13 people were killed in an attack. And then a little later, in Cambrils, there was another. It seemed like they got down to Cambrils, some guys, and they did mow down some more people there as well a little bit later. Well, ISIS, they have taken responsibility for it, and so yeah, there was explosions in Alcanar, there was the mowing down people in Barcelona, and then in Cambrils there was another attack where people ran down some more people with another van, or with a car this time rather. Yeah, so quite a lot of people killed, unfortunately, and a lot of people injured. One of the guys was shot by police, and there's still a guy on the run, a Moroccan guy called Jonas Abouyawab, something like that.
Yeah, you would have done that far better than me, mate, so I can't say anything there. I'm glad you had to read the name, not me.
Yeah, 22 years old. He's still on the loose. 17-year-old Moussa Oukaubir was shot. He was at first thought to have been driving the car. He was shot. He was killed in Cambrils. But Jonas Abayoyo-Koyob, or whatever his name is still on the loose. So people are a bit nervous at the moment.
Right.
Yeah, what do you think, Phil?
I think the worrying aspect is that Spain doesn't seem to have a foreign policy. that was going into the Middle East. So you question why it's been picked. I seem to think on a higher level from ISIS, if all this war on terror and everything else is a chess game, I do believe that this has been strategically put into Barcelona because of its tourism, and will scare the bejesus out of anybody now who thinks that they can go anywhere in Europe as a tourist and be safe.
This was a deliberate attack on tourists. I mean, that's quite obvious.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get any not all Muslims, and this is what happens with your foreign policy. So now, I'm cynical by nature. So not that I think every event is a false flag. You do give it a day or so, you do get inconsistencies with event. It does make you question who is really behind it. Not to say that ISIS haven't got sympathizers that are carrying out believe that. There are certainly jihadists, there's certainly radical Islam. That is a real concept. For me, what's more worrying is that who is allowing them, and why they are being allowed to do it, when we can totally see from a common sense point of view that these attacks should not be happening. I mean, the people reports on the day of that attack, how quickly the police arrived, how heavy the police presence was prior to this incident. Now, this place, of course, there are maybe not. But there may be elements that smell a bit of a drill, a bit of a preconceived idea it was going to hit. Now, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I think, personally, I think a lot of the terror attacks we've seen recently in Europe look genuine to me. I mean, I think people look at 9/11. I think something didn't seem right with 9/11. I'm not going to say exactly, I cannot say for sure exactly what, go into detail there, but I think something didn't seem right with 9/11. But I think most of the terror attacks we've seen recently in Europe, especially the truck attacks, they seem to be, genuine attacks to me. That's what I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, but I'm not implicating in any way that this was not an event that didn't happen. Now, you will get false flag events where you don't see any bodies, but we'll tell you there's 26 dead and you don't get to see anything. So that, you can argue, maybe there's something in that.
Yeah.
This, whether there's crisis actors, whether you want to go down that route, there does seem to be people appear to be injured. CCTV footage will hopefully come out. I mean, this all should come out pretty much instantaneous to show actually what's going on. So I do believe there's victims. I do believe there are people that really are wound up to believe in the jihad and everything surrounding it. However, I do feel I think we're getting to the point where they're not so much being allowed to do it, but it's like the snake is being put in the boot and the snake it didn't crawl in there itself.
Yeah.
It's like someone's put it in there. Now, if that bites my foot, it's not the person who put it in there because it's a snake. A snake is being a snake. But it's that kind of allegory I keep going back to. I'm wondering whether this has kind of been allowed to happen because of the agencies that we've got nowadays that are supposed to be looking out for us. All the lack of liberties, all the new acts that are coming out that are supposedly protecting us.
Oh yeah, they are. They're watching everything people do online now. I mean,
well, Vault 7, all the rest of it, they're quick to turn the scope on you, but yet they still want you to be so terrified that if even you go to the shops, you've now got to be worried about Islamicists. But at the same time, you cannot look at every brown person and think that they're a terrorist. It is crazy world. They're giving people two different messages. They're spreading a climate of fear, but saying, well, you can't hate them all for it. And it's like, whoa, but I can't even question it either. It's like, it's crazy. So I do believe it's a real event. So I'm not going into conspiracy level. I'm just uber questioning.
Yeah, you should question everything. I mean, You
you
should be
know.
allowed, as we spoke about before we started the stream. You should be allowed to question everything. Everything is up for question.
There's so much propaganda that's being thrown out by mainstream media on an hourly basis that it is hard to extrapolate the truth from any of them shows.
Yeah.
And you always have got to question what I regard as known liars. So if someone
that's what we are doing on this show. We are questioning everything and getting the other side of the story. Basically, we are bringing you the other side of the story here.
Certainly.
Yeah, and I think, and then the day afterwards as well, there was another terror attack. By the way, before we continue, I would just like to shout out to all the viewers. If you're watching this, please leave a like on the video. That helps the video ratings, so more people see it. It gets better. That's how the YouTube algorithms work, unless they are shadow banning us, of course. But
well, wouldn't surprise me, Peter.
But yeah, so please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so. We will be doing this, the Patriot Report, every week. And as well, this show is also 100% fan funded. So we are not taking any money from any sponsors or anything. So you know that you're getting unbiased, honest reporting. So if you want to support the show, you can see the link down below to PayPal or Patreon, or you can use the the super chat in the live chat as well if you want to support the show. Anything is appreciated because we are doing this for you guys, and it takes a lot of work into doing this. So if you want to support it, please feel free. Yeah, so going on to the next story. In Finland, there was so the day after the Barcelona attack, there was a terror attack in Finland. Which is close to Sweden, where I'm from, obviously. So it's quite little bit close to home for me. You know, in Finland, Swedish is actually an official second language in Finland. So all Finnish people, they learn to speak Swedish in school. So 2 people were killed and 8 injured. A guy called Abdul Rahman, he was an asylum seeker from Morocco. Again, the same as the ones in Barcelona. He had a knife where he stabbed people. According to witnesses, he was shouting Allah Akbar during the attack. Something that the mainstream media conveniently left out.
No, it wasn't Allah Akbar, it was Happy New Year. I mean, that's how ridiculous they want you to think. They will, you know, change the narrative of anything. So I've seen the footage myself. It was a high-rise building. Someone was running below. It looked like he had something in his hand, and you could hear it in the background. Now, I'm not there to verify it, but at the same time, you've got to show that and let people
people need to know what's happening. You can't censor, you know.
Exactly. And you can only question the news reporters that censor it. Why you censor it? Because you're changing a narrative. As soon as you go down that route, you're misleading people. And so then you ask the question, why are you misleading people? Do you want me to think down this path? Why, you know? So it's whether people want to think that, or they just open the paper, see the headline and run with the headline. It's hard work. It's hard work, but as anyone who's been red-pilled and open-minded nowadays, it's worthwhile because most of the time the narrative is pretty much different once you read into it.
Yeah. A funny fact here, by the way, I read some rumors that the guy was shot in the leg, they say, by police. But according to some rumors from some Swedish people on Twitter, he was actually shot in his privates.
Ah, right. Okay. You reckon he'd done that on purpose? Maybe... yeah, it's one way of punishing him. I mean, what's interesting now, you'd think that there'd be more in the press in terms of transparency when this geezer's apprehended, what he knows, and this, that, and the other, without that being contaminated in some way. I mean, one fact, I mean, I don't want to go back to Barcelona, but in the van, am I right in assuming that they found a passport of this chap? That's hence how they've got his identity.
I'm not sure.
Right, okay. I'd heard one report, at least, that they'd found the passport, hence doing that. Now, my point being is, they're very sloppy, these guys, obviously. They're very sophisticated in where they go, how they train, what they get up to. evading police, getting all kinds of bomb-making materials. But they must have the smallest pockets in the world if they keep dropping passports. You know, particularly in certain scenarios where there's been infernos, and hey, presto, there's a passport of one of them there. So he's this
Well, there was 9/11. They managed to. It was apparently one of the 9/11 hijackers' passport. Apparently managed to survive the crash, fly out of the plane, fly through the building and down to the ground unhurt through a massive inferno. Somehow.
You know, when you look back and you can analyse and look at it with a set of eyes, knowing in hindsight, it is laughable. It is laughable. It's more like a comic. I mean, they're trying to tell you that it was a raging inferno because of the jet fuel. Hence, no building has ever gone down through fire before, particularly of that height. But yet this was so hot because of the jet fuel.
Yeah.
But then...
Did you see Trump actually back then when that happened? He actually talked about it. Thought it was strange that the building came down because the buildings were actually built to be able to withstand airplanes. That was Trump himself that said that back then in 2001.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard the clip.
He's a builder. He builds skyscrapers. He knows what he's talking about.
He knows all about it. So it's just a common sense thing. And the fact that people can look into how many architects globally are disagreeing. Architects, people who've put themselves on the line, because I'm sure they're going to feel it, but just, you know, I mean, I don't want to get off too much on point because we were talking about Finland, but same again, it always seems to be the same people kind of rolled out from the same background. They're doing the same things. Where was he radicalized? What influences he had? Who's kind of egged him on? You know, it does require a lot of diligence to actually get to the truth. And I do believe in all these instances, rather than just full on react to the news and the narrative that's put out, like yourself, this show is all about questioning certain narratives and, you know, coming at it from a different angle. We may have it totally wrong. I'm not saying I've got the answer on any of it. I'm just
exploring the truth. Trying to
through critical lens.
And going back to Finland, apparently on the same night that the attack happened, the police said that they were not investigating it as a terror attack. That did change how later, so the next day, or 24 hours later, they did say they are investigating it as a terror attack. So it is confirmed it was a terror attack, but yeah.
Well, that's probably political correctness kicking in straight away, no matter what the subject is. Oh, it's not a terror attack. You know, even though all the hallmarks are there, and then they've obviously got some information that they can't deny it's a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
Now, how transparent we should be at that time, I think if you've now gone total 180 on what you're saying, you should tell us why. Why were you saying you were adamant there, and why all of a sudden, well, no, it is a terrorist attack now? Don't just throw out little snippets of information. I want to know the full shebang. But, you know, we have certain laws now where if anyone's arrested, you can't talk about certain crimes, which seems to be very convenient. Everything just closes down. Everyone will forget about it, just get on with their life. And then over the course of time, it doesn't become as important to get to the true bottom of the facts.
Yeah, people forget. You know, the attack in Manchester, where you live, that was in your home city. I mean, they were really upset about it a couple of days, and then next week just forgot all about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many distractions in life, and the same as, I mean, people will have that initial sense of horror. Disgust, I can't believe it's happened here. But it's like the preconceived, just to kind of flip the setting in their head. Let's go back from horror to maybe not so bad. Now let's go back just to real life and thinking about what, you know, all the distractions that are being...
what TV channel we're going to watch next.
Exactly.
What propaganda should we watch? What recipe, what food should we cook? Bread and circus, you know.
Yeah, just plug me back into the Matrix.
Yeah.
For a minute, there was a little spark there. I got unplugged and I actually seen it for what it was. Oh, I don't like it. Plug it back in. just zone back out.
That's a perfect analogy. What happened? People in the matrix, people plugged in, and then something happened, and they were little trying to get out of it, but then give it a couple of days, back in. Yeah, watching TV.
Oh, bliss. Perfect calm. It's crazy. The more that you get people that it sparks, I think less and less people may be getting plugged back in. The majority are still plugging back in because they're still getting wrapped up into materialism, consumerism, collectivization, all the rest of it, and they still soon get pulled back into it. But there's one or two people that are still left straggling in that grey area of what the hell just happened there.
Yeah.
This is quite not what I thought life was all about. Let me see. So hopefully them guys will then just start to look into more truth and common sense and use the brain a little bit more, hopefully create a few more sparks.
Yeah, it's hopefully, yeah, well, unfortunately, the only way to wake people up is either, well, it's real life events. I mean, that's what woke me up. And, you know... Yeah. It looks like a lot of the younger generation, because you say you can't teach a old dog new tricks. There might be something to it, because you know, it seems like if you look at the research that's going on, some polls show that the younger generation are much more conservative now compared to older generation. So you look at millennials, they are very liberal. But then look at the next generation after that, Generation Z, they call it. So I believe that's people born after the year 2000 are very, very red-pilled, very conservative, according to the opinion polls. I think you said among Generation Z, among people born after 2000, I think it was something like 83% of white people were voting Trump. I think.
Right.
So. Yeah. I think the figure was less for black people in America, but yeah, but overall, all of the young people were a lot more conservative than the older people. Yeah. So it seems like the kind of current events that have happened when they grew up have affected how they think. You know, they see the world for what it is much more than the older people.
It's a shock to the system, like you say, and their normalcy bias is probably not as entrenched as the older generations that can kind of fall back to the narrative. I don't know, maybe, I mean, my eldest daughter falls into the Millennial Z. She's very open-minded, very fair. I've got a younger daughter as well. I don't know whether you'd call her X, Y, or whatever comes after it, but she's closely related to it. They both see common sense. They'll say to me certain things, and they'll be talking way above the years, but come at it from an angle where it's looking at it as a common sense view. Yeah. Now, I know I've probably had a lot to do with that because I'm forever bashing my kids with red pills, mate. I think my kids are red pilled up. They really are. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think because of the kids now have got more access to see what they want, even though that is now shrinking because of political correctness, because of hate speech and everyone closing down websites and stopping people getting access to videos, even though they click notifications. There's so many tricks to try to do to slow the message down, if not cut it. Yeah. But I do believe the younger generation totally gets it, the youngest generation. We've still got that quagmire that still believe everything should be free. All the universities should be paid for. We shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that. Now, unfortunately, I also worry about the effect they're going to have when they do get into positions of power. Because all this has got to work itself through. I want to skip to the Generation Z getting into power.
Yeah, because the millennial generation, they are, not the.
We'll see.
Not.
You know, these could be our doctors, these could be our judges, our lawyers. And
imagine having your blue-haired feminist SJW with no strings as your doctor.
Would you seriously believe anything she says? She looks as pale as a sheet. She's probably, you know, probably not eating properly and this, that, and the other. And, you know, he's like, you know what? I think I'll just sit in a field and start trial and error with certain leaves and plants, because I'll have a better idea of giving myself a self remedy than listening to you.
Yeah,
it's worrying prospects.
Yeah, I think I want to go into as well. If you have time, I just one or two more things I want to cover. From Sweden, there's a news from Sweden that happened here just recently. There was I believe there was some shooting of some kind. There were some patients at the hospital from the shooting, and there was a big mob of about 40 or 50 Muslims gathered outside the hospital. They had to get the police there to try and stop them because they want to get inside the hospital. This mob. So the police was there trying to stop them from getting in, but they beat the police in Sweden, the Swedish police. So this is actually the Sweden's most famous and best and biggest hospital. It's the flagship hospital in Sweden. This Karolinska sjukhuset. The police, but about 40 or 50 of these Muslim men, they actually beat the police. They took rubbish bins and threw at the police, and the police retaliated and left. So the mob got inside the hospital and beat up patients and staff. So that just happened in Sweden recently. What do you have any thoughts on that?
Sick. That's my first thought. The next thought is the hand. Never look a gift horse in the mouth. When you've got a society that's been tolerant and accepted you. I think it
shows, how the police is really struggling in Sweden. That they cannot even keep a mob of angry men out from a hospital from beating up patients. It's
like you say, is there a degree of political correctness that's stopping them truly cracking a few skulls? Because when I was small, if you tried some form of insurrection, police around, the truncheons would be out. Not saying.
I don't think it was political correctness that stopped them this time. I think it was that they were just understaffed, to be completely honest with you.
Right.
Because the police in Sweden have had a big problem with understaffing and people.
As in the security or just general police manning that hospital?
This was the police themselves that were doing this.
Right.
By the way, big shout out here in the live chat to JT Smith here and Litz and Willems who have donated here to support the show. Big shout out to you guys. Really appreciate it. This show is 100% fan funded, and I couldn't really do this without. After I was doxxed, I'm basically unemployable, so I have to do this full time now. So this is 100% fan funded, so I couldn't do this without you guys. So thanks a lot. As I said, the Swedish police was out here recently that. From 2015 till 2017, there's been a 50% increase in police working overtime. Right. So this is costing the Swedish taxpayer a lot of extra money as well, because overtime is more expensive. So It's costing millions and millions of pounds in extra wages. Right. And the police themselves, the police chief, actually said himself that. The reason for this is because of all of the newly arrived migrants. That is the very reason for it.
Right. As in they taking the resources, so the bill has kind of got to be paid for. So we've got
because of all the problems that the mass migration has brought. It has completely overwhelmed the police in Sweden, so they can't even protect the hospitals.
Yeah.
I think
sad state of affairs. You can see what needs to happen, what should happen really. It's a pity because through events like that now, that could mean that we now have to have, or particularly in Sweden, loads more police around hospitals. So even though I do agree, that needs to happen, it's a shame that certain events mean that laws, protocols have to change for everybody just because of one incident. As bad as it is.
But that is the thing. The Swedish economy doesn't have enough money to support, to get more police in. They don't have enough police officers to be able to do this. I can tell you one shocking. There's a county in Sweden called Jämtland. It's about 125,000 people that live there, and it's actually the size of Denmark. So it's a huge place.
Okay.
Imagine, can you guess how many police officers? So it was this one night. Can you guess how many police cars they had patrolling the whole area in one particular
For a
night?
population of 125,000 people.
And the size of
Wild guess,
Denmark.
because I've never had to think. The size of Denmark. I mean, you're talking. Surely they must have at least one policeman for every 50, 60. I don't know. I'd say at least 100, a couple of hundred. I would have said.
They had they had 2 police cars covering the whole area.
2 police cars patrolling an area
The size of Denmark.
that has got a population of 125,000 people. So you then do the math of how many of that population could have nefarious. So it only takes more than 3 crimes at any one point, and that's finished.
So forget about speeding tickets. People would just be like, just drive as the police, you know. Imagine if a robbery happened or something. They wouldn't have a chance.
It's so easy to overload in that situation, because then if you was to prioritise, what are you prioritising to? Because you've only got 2 police.
Well, they have to prioritise all the shootings now in Sweden. There's been an insane amount of shootings the last few days, actually.
I wonder why.
Just yesterday there was, I think, it was within the last 48 hours. I haven't checked today, but from yesterday then, so yesterday and the day before, so Friday and Saturday, there was 3 fatal shootings, and I think 6 or 7 more shootings, so people were injured in the whole of Sweden. And this is insane, because you look back 10 years ago, there were like 3 fatal shootings in the whole year. Yes. And now we have the same in 2 days.
Yes, because if there's no deterrent, if there's no police to kind of at least visually give the impression that we're watching you, we're on it, not that you want to live in a police state, but at least that you're being protected, that might act as some kind of deterrence. Then you won't get ghettos. I mean, they must have ghettos all over the place then, surely, because they're not being policed, they're not being manned, so it's only going to flourish and flourish and flourish over the decades.
Yeah, that's the problem. They don't have nearly enough police to deal, and they don't have the money to deal with all the crime in Sweden that's happening because of mass migration. Because what is happening is, when the migrants come to Sweden, there's already established network of criminal gangs, migrant criminal gangs, who speak their language and have the same culture. So they group together, and they form these no-go zones where they control the complete areas of Sweden. So there's one place quite close to where I used to live in Sweden, which is completely dominated by a Syrian mafia at the moment. So people can't even open new cafes there. Someone tried to open a new cafe there, waffle shop, and it got burnt down the same night by, I guess, this mafia, because I don't know, he probably didn't pay his fee or something. Right. So Sweden is just turning completely lawless, completely.
That's very culturally enriching, isn't it, Peter? You know, and you just think to yourself, is this crazy? I mean, if I was to pull an analogy from this, Peter, sorry, mate, I would say, imagine you've just rolled up the gravel path to a stately home where you're seeing 10 or 15 windows in front of you. One of them windows, the bottom window, is absolutely, you can see inside, it's engulfed in rage. There's nothing to suggest that anywhere else but that one room. But it is that bad that you know it's going to take out the rest of the house. But your reaction to it is to go upstairs into the top left bedroom and just go to bed. You know,
everything is fine.
Everything's fine. That'll burn itself out. It'll contain itself in that one room and it'll just burn out. And that's how that
seems to be the Swedish mindset at the moment. Yeah.
Well, I think globally, mate. I mean, with them telling you that we haven't got a problem with radical Islam, we haven't got a problem with grooming gangs. It's that same kind of mindset that we're not going to tackle it head on. We're not going to throw water on it, or we're not going to assess what fluid, what we should throw on it. Sometimes water, depending on the fire, is the worst thing you can do. But we're not even going to actually assess what needs to be done in order to cut it dead before that cancerous fire spreads to another building or spreads to another room, does this, does that. It doesn't. It looks like they just try to let it burn out like a forest fire. They're playing with it.
That's what they're doing. They're just trying to burn the whole. They're just trying to make the whole system collapse, and that's what the globalists want. They want the whole system to collapse. They want it to be. They want to divide people. They want to, they probably want to have Nazis and communists on both sides fighting each other.
Keeps it going. Yeah. Order out of chaos. The more they can create chaos and psychological terror, the more they can keep this whole cycle going. The more they can maybe profit off it with arms, because it's all about war. The more they can get justification to get regimes to take over, to maybe get their financial institutions under our wing. The more you can socially engineer people, control people on every level, the more you can implement what food they eat, what drink. So you can look at it, every angle, every facet is all geared round lack of freedom.
It's all divide and conquer.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Big shout out here again, by the way, to Lisa PDX, who donated here to support the show. Big shout out there. She says, thank you for sharing truthful information. The mainstream media does not report truth. This is a public service. Thanks. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the nice words there. Thanks a lot. And also Aki Alexei also support the show as well. He says ISIS is the Saudi Foreign Legion, he says. Big thanks to you there as well. And that was your comment there from him there as well. I think I want to try and limit this show to about 45 minutes so we don't get too long, because that might discourage people. What do you think, Phil? Is there anything more
I agree with you. Short but sweet, Peter. How long has it been going for now? Is that the kind of time's up mark?
We've been going on for about 45 minutes. Hang on, we've been going for about 45 an hour now, I think, a little bit more. So just one thing maybe cover before we finish, if you have time.
No problem, that's fine.
This debacle about the rebel media, is that anything you would like to cover?
Let's talk about it. I think we should cover it.
I think it's quite important.
Yeah, and from your aspect, because you've got a personal aspect to it, I've got my own personal aspect to it. Shall
we cover that and then maybe wrap up after that? So it doesn't
finish
get too
with
long,
a flare, Peter.
Because a lot of people are going to watch this after the live stream as well. We've had about 500 viewers so far during the live stream, and then a lot more people will watch it afterwards as well when I get a notification. Subscribe. I got about 12,000 subscribers at the moment, so they get a notification. So we get more viewers after this. So what about the rebel media? Well, if you haven't followed it, the rebel media is in a bit of a trouble at the moment. They lost over 10,000 subscribers here the other day. They have lost all of their. Well, Kaelin, their UK reporter, was kicked from the rebel media. I know him, and also Faith Goldie, who's their Canadian kind of star reporter. She was kicked as well. And then we have the co-founder Brian, I think he has left as well just recently. And we have Gavin McInnes is leaving as well. We don't know where he's going. Reportedly he might be going to Infowars, we don't know. But he is leaving. And it also has emerged that Lauren Southern, she was actually fired by the rebel media, according to Kaelin. She didn't leave on her own, she was actually fired. So Kaelin came out with some quite interesting information about what's been going on at the rebel, because there's been a few things that has been a little bit disturbing. You might have seen Laura Loomer when she did this, when she stormed the stage, the Julius Caesar theater performance, and they actually had registered a domain for donation several hours before the thing happened. So it seemed like it was a kind of set up stunt to try and get donation money. And they want like $25,000 for it just to get Laura Loomer out of jail, which is a bit much, really, when you think of it.
Right. Okay.
So Kaylin has come with all these accusations. Then we don't know. I mean, we cannot say. We're not saying if they're true or not. But this is what Kaylin says, that they have been basically taking people's donations and using them for other purposes than what they have stated that they are doing. So they've been donating for taking donations for different causes, like Laura Loomer getting out of jail, but allegedly money going to other things. And Kaylin also had a secret recording of the boss Ezra Levant, where he was offering them hush money and to not say anything, and not say anything bad about Rebel, and not say anything about what's going on, and not say anything about what's happened with Lauren, for example, because apparently Lauren was kicked from the Rebel because she didn't want to make, according to Kaylin, Rebel Media wanted Lauren to make a video where she was asking for donations for a trip to Israel, but since they already had the money they needed for it, she didn't want to do it. She didn't feel it morally right, according to Kaylin. So she was actually kicked by Ezra. She didn't leave on her own, and she was their star reporter. I mean, I met her in Sicily. She seems like a nice girl, and she's doing a very good. She is one of our best alternative media reporters for sure. She's doing a lot of good work. So there's been some dubious business practices, you could say, going on at the Rebel, and and you have all these alternative media pundits. They've all piled onto Rebel and basically saying that the Rebel is over after this. And I'm going to have to say that the information that has come out of the Rebel doesn't look too good for them. Now, Ezra Levant of the Rebel, he claims that he's being blackmailed by Kaylin, and that Kaylin was threatening to release some blackmail on Tommy Robinson as well, allegedly, where he was admitting that he had punched someone or something like that.
It was at the races, was it?
Yeah,
Is that what you're referring to? Suggesting that it wasn't self-defense, it was more, Tommy being violent.
So he claims that Kaylin was threatening to blackmail Tommy Robinson. It's quite a big mess, but on the whole, I'm going to say from my perspective, not just going on what they say, but I'm just going to say from my perspective, I have been, ever since Lauren Sudden was fired from there, because I knew she didn't leave on her own. I knew she was fired. I didn't really say much about it, but she was fired from there. And I have my suspicions that there is something more to the story as well. That some of the people have been too free thinking, going too much right wing for Ezra Levant's liking, because Lauren Sudden, when she was fired, she had taken quite a few steps towards more. She was becoming more right wing than before, and then she was all of a sudden fired. And I haven't said anything about this, but Faith Goldie, she was fired because she appeared on a podcast together with Daily Stormer.
Really?
Yeah. Now, I don't like Daily Stormer. I think, they should have the right to say they should have the right to free speech, obviously, but I don't agree with them. But people should be allowed to go on their show. People should be allowed to do whatever they want with their free speech. I don't think you should censor anything. You should be allowed to question everything, go into everything. But obviously, I don't agree with Daily Stormer. But she went on there anyway, and she was kicked. And she has. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, sorry, I keep listening. I'm just taking in what you say, mate.
Yeah, I have predicted for a couple of months now that she would get kicked sooner or later, because she has also gone far more to the right as well from before. Which, well, her being on Daily Stormer, well, she maybe went a bit too far right. But yeah.
To be honest, I don't know too much about the Daily Stormer, is it?
Yeah, Daily Stormer is a Nazi website.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, yeah, it's up to her. Obviously, it doesn't look good aesthetically.
No,
it kind of proves the alt-right narrative, everyone blah blah. So
the funny thing, well, the thing is, Daily Stormer, they are a troll website. They troll everything. Right. It's a bit hard to know if they're actually Nazis or not. But they go out saying that they're Nazis, but they do so much trolling. It's a bit hard to know where they actually stand. Right.
Any association is not good at this moment in time because they'll just use it to
they go out with swastikas and stuff like that, so it's not something I would associate with at all. They've actually shut down after the Charlottesville. They've actually shut down by the people hosting them, and they actually stole their domain. They weren't allowed to have the domain anymore, so that's quite worrying actually, that they could just shut down a website like that. Even if you don't agree with them, they should have free speech. So dailystormer.com was just taken down. It doesn't exist anymore. But they managed to come back online with the dailystormer.lol.
Oh jeez, rubbing it right back in the face.
You can see they are trolls.
Yes. Yes. But, I mean, Matt, have you finished with your perspective of the?
Well, almost. So I just want to say. Yeah, so she has been going more to the right and maybe a bit too much to the right when she went on Daily Stormer, but she was kicked anyway because she went too much to the right. And same with Lauren as well. I think there's more to the story. It's not just the shady business practices that they've been doing. It's also that they are too much to the right for Ezra Levon's liking. They are too much of a rebel for the rebel.
Well, yes, you could say that.
And Kalin, he is a bit more to the right than Ezra Levon's liking, maybe as well. I'm not going to go into details, but I'm just going to leave it at that. And also, after I I don't know. I mean, one thing I would like to say, I've been a little bit suspicious of the Rebel as well after I was doxxed, after my name came out, because it is only a few people who know my real name. That's you, the Rebel, and Anne-Marie Waters that knows my real name. And someone, when I got doxxed, someone went with my real name to Hate Not Hope so they could find out more information about me. It's only you, the Rebel, and Anne-Marie Waters that knows my real name. And obviously you didn't go with my name to them.
No, I'm sorry, I went to work the following day. Painting walls, and that was it. That was exciting as my life went.
Yeah, and then we had Anne-Marie Waters. She hates me. I'm quite suspecting she might be the one that actually went with my name to Hate Not Hope. But it could also be someone at the Rebel. No, I don't think Kalin or any of those guys would do it, but maybe Ezra, the boss. I've spoken to him as well. He knows my name.
Mate, yeah. I don't know who's obviously done that, but there's certain questions that now I've got to look at it from my perspective. Firstly, as you know, I was asked if I wanted to join Rebel as a contributor.
Yeah, because you were because we had a dinner just before I went to Sicily. We had a dinner. I had a dinner with the Rebel and Anne-Marie Waters in Sunderland, and you were there with us before the dinner. You left. Yep. We had some drinks, I think, and then you left.
That's right. Yeah.
So you were there as well. So you can, and yeah. So what do you think?
From my experience of that, we had the interview. We went and had a couple of drinks. It was a fantastic conversation that we was all having. It was great to be in the company of so many like-minded people on the same side and just bouncing ideas around. I
have a photo here on screen, by the way, from that.
Oh, okay. From
it's
the way the dinner has gone. Oh, that's it.
Here's you. Here's me. Here's Lucy from the Rebel. Here's Kalin from the Rebel. Here's Jack Buckby he's actually a former BNP. He doesn't like me anymore at all. He hates me now.
Right.
He's with Anne-Marie Waters.
I noticed he was hanging about with Anne-Marie Waters. He didn't seem to interject too much in the conversations. And the top of the bloke at the top is Jordan, a good lad I met on the day as well.
It's Jordan. Okay, I didn't get his name.
Yeah, the tallest geezer there, lovely chap. Hello, Jordan, if you're watching, because he texted me before to say we were online, so he may be watching now. That was a brilliant day, but there's things that concern me about both sides of what has gone on. With Ezra, do you ever win an argument when you decide that you're going to pay off a blackmail? And if somebody's blackmailing you, it means they've got something to blackmail against you. So by definition, if you're prepared to, it means an element of guilt that you want to silence and undercover. Now, I don't know, but there's no innocent party on both sides, I do feel there. Now, with Colin...
There's an interesting comment here by Anna in the comments. She thinks maybe Rebel doxed me as some competition for them. I don't know.
Well,
they shouldn't do it, but I have been thinking the same thing. Maybe
this is where I'm getting to, Peter, because if Colin come out and he was basically Tommy Robinson's sidekick, and he explained at that dinner that he come out to kind of give a better production feel to Tommy Robinson's videos. He gave us that old story. It sounded lovely and convincing, and I totally believed him. I'm not suggesting he's lying. Now, the fact that it's turned that sour is actually he's being disrespectful to Tommy, and he's prepared to out Tommy in some way. Now, whether Tommy's guilty or not, now that doesn't seem a friendly thing to do, but there's no friends in this business at the same time. But he is prepared to out people. So what I'm trying to say is
he has outed his boss. So did he out me? Maybe.
Well, I'm slowly getting there, mate. I'm just trying to pick off the little bits I'm now collating. He's obviously got hours and hours of footage of Tommy in different angles, before interviews, after interviews, and maybe he's trying to build a picture. Maybe he's trying to edit things himself. I've no idea. Maybe he's got absolute coverage that shows whatever he's trying to describe. That aside, the fact that he's now turned sour on Tommy and prepared to out him with footage, whatever it is.
Well, he said on Twitter that he is friends with Tommy. But
yeah, I'm going to use this material against you.
But according to Ezra Levant, the owner of Rebel, Kaylin had threatened to blackmail Tommy Robinson over that thing in where it was.
So the general point I'm getting at, Peter, is that we're living in the day and age now. I remember we were sat at that table. I don't know whether it shows it on that photo, but there was a hell of a lot of cameras. He was fiddling with your camera a lot because he was very impressed with your camera. Now, he placed his cameras on tables. Now, I'm not saying there's anything...
I'll bring the photo up again here so you can see.
All I'm saying is, could that session that we had, that chat, have been recorded?
Because something happened after that day when you and me were there with them. Something happened after that day, because it was just after that happened that all of this stuff went down at the Rebel. Because it's been going on now for a little while in the quiet. Kaylin was actually kicked 2 weeks ago. Here's the photo again. They all have their phones out. They all have their phones out, and they have the camera out here as well. They could easily be recording on their phones here if they wanted to. I mean,
now that's probably me being paranoid, but I will say this: Colin was a lovely guy.
George,
but
I see that George here is George. That's Kaylin's boyfriend. He isn't on the phone. You can see a glimpse of him here. He's on his phone here at least.
So what I'm saying is,
George doesn't like me that much, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Well, what can I say? It just makes me think that the whole scenario smells a bit, and I don't think there's anyone who can kind of go, well, he's been hard done by here. But having said that, I've not followed any of them on Twitter and arguments that might have developed. I've just watched their own presentational video clips, each one of them. They both seem to be throwing mud at each other. But in the middle of it all, I don't see how any of them can totally be honourable with the way things are going. Because even if Colin's done the blackmail, I still think that the way he edited his video, it does seem that he patched up a lot of the conversation that he's trying to discredit Ezra with. Now, to suggest that Ezra...
Yeah, it was edited footage, definitely.
Now, if you want to be transparent, I'd love to see the full conversation where he's saying everything, you know, in chronological order that would then put it all into context. You can't edit something and then display it as something that should be in context. So I'm not saying anything other than it looks smelly on both sides. I think Colin's probably not done himself any favours. I think Ezra and Rebel, with all the other journalists that you've say he's had wrangles with, for whatever reason and whatever agenda, I'm not privy to the conversations, it doesn't look good. But if you harbour to blackmail, you're a fool to yourself. But at the same time, I think, why would you be prepared to go fully to blackmail unless there was something that would really hurt you that badly? Because you know, everyone knows what the stakes are if you'd ever discovered that you were blackmailed. Yeah. And being that
I'm not saying he did blackmail, but according to Ezra, he threatened to blackmail Tommy. And I mean, recording a secret conversation like that is a little bit dodgy, maybe, but. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to have a shout out here to Lisa PDX here, who donated to support the show as well. She says, hard bastard of Hard News Network reviewed video the 30 people, racially and politically diverse people attending the free speech rally in Boston, she writes. Big shout out there, thank you to Lisa who supports the show. It's 100% fan funded, so thanks a lot for that. I couldn't do it without you guys. Yeah, go on, Phil.
Yes, I think it's a shameful episode on both sides. I think any of them have got so much work to do to kind of rebuild. I don't think there's any winners out of it, which is a shame. And people at the time, even one of my bosses, my employers, when it was going out that Rebel Media wanted to employ me, there was so many people saying, take it, it's a once-in-a-lifetime offer. I personally weighed up the pros and cons regarding my own personal life, and I felt it wasn't the right direction.
At least it seems like you did a good choice, because the Rebel isn't anymore much. It's
collapsed, and you know, imagine the movement that I really want to kind of spread. Imagine how discredited I would have been for something that was not even in my control, but just by sheer association. And that, I mean, I don't know how Tommy's going to suffer with this now, or has Tommy got something hanging over his head where something might come back a year later? You know,
if it is true that they have blackmail on Tommy, I mean,
sometimes you don't need proof; just the mere suggestion is good enough to get it out there. Now, I've had it suggested to me that Colin and his partner are somehow kind of infiltrators to Rebel Media, but I can't take that with any grain of salt, just like any of the other information. I can only go off what I've seen and kind of put my concerns across that way. I'll still maintain it. I've met Colin, I've met the lady and his partner. I think they were all fabulous people. We had a lovely time. But I can't really say for sure what their true character's all about, what their true agenda's all about. I can only take as I find them. On that one occasion, they were all brilliant people, and I still remember when I look at that photo, it makes me feel good, because I left there feeling so good about that conversation. Yeah. You know, being in a climate where you can't really talk about scenarios. Not to say we was talking about hate speech and tossing that round the table, but we was all having a semi-intellectual conversation with like-minded people, and it was brilliant to experience. Yeah,
it's see if I have quite a few. Yeah, we had a few photos from there. I mean, the funny thing is actually, the funny thing is actually, after I posted this photo on Twitter, and Kaylan, he took my photo. He took this photo that we had. And he actually cut me out of it. So he just had you and him and Lucy and Jack and this was it Jordan. Just had you guys on the photo, and he cut me out of it. And he posted it on his Twitter.
You know, there's one thing. I mean, now you said
here's George, by the way.
Right. Okay. Yeah, he was a cameraman, really.
That's Kaylin's boyfriend and cameraman and editor. Yeah, he's the guy who's doing all the video stuff. Well, was doing all the video stuff for Rebel in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, were they? Are they a bug in the system?
Does anyone know who this guy is, by the way?
It's Barry. Barry, he's the chap who, I befriended him in Sunderland. A great Mancunian. Yeah, brilliant guy.
It seemed like he didn't like me too much after what happened as well.
He actually he subscribed. He actually donated to you on the day, if you remember.
Yeah, he did. But then afterwards, he's been writing some things about me on Twitter. He doesn't like me.
I'm not privy to that, so I've really no idea what's
He doesn't like me anymore after I came into fight with Anne-Marie Waters. He took Anne-Marie Waters' side and didn't like me anymore. Sadly.
See, I'm not taking any sides in anything because one, I'm not privy to anything, and two, I can only make my own decision when I'm there in conversations. I can see the whole context. Yeah. You know, I think everybody will try and inevitably pull the truth over to their side. Now, I don't know whether Barry's kind of listening to Anne-Marie and gone, well, I believe your side more than Peter's. Whether, like you say, whether he's bought into your context. It might be a bit of both of them. He might have total legitimate reasons for it. Crazy.
The one funny thing that you maybe don't know from what happened there, the Rebel, I did an interview with the Rebel about Sweden.
I was just going to bring that up. That was where I was going. So you carry on, mate.
Yeah, I have a photo here, so you can so you can see. Me and Quaylen did a interview with about Sweden. After you left, but they bailed on it after what happened, and they didn't publish the interview. So that was a bit strange.
So this is after the Anne-Marie Waters kind of scandal, let's say.
We filmed the interview just after you had left the hotel. We filmed the interview, and then Anne-Marie Waters joined us for dinner after that.
Right.
But then they bailed on the interview. They didn't put. It was a very good interview. I gave a lot of good info. Talked a lot of very good info about Sweden. It would have been a very good to publish.
Right.
I had a lot of very good information there that I gave them.
As you know, I was there. I was well aware that interview was about to take place. Me and Barry had to leave because we had to drive back to Manchester, you know, to our respective jobs in the morning. We wanted to stay because we felt it was really good conversation, good company. I was totally unaware of what happened with you and Anne-Marie, but I just literally got up for work and then proceeded to carry on with my life. I kind of stayed out of it. I was expecting, naively, within a couple of days, both interviews to be kind of put up on Rebel. Now, it seemed to take days and days and days, but I was unaware of anything. I'm not on any social media, so I don't know.
They did put up the video with you, but
I was expecting you. I was fully expecting you as well. I was expecting you first because I'm thinking to myself, well, obviously, you know, what I've done is brilliant, but what Peter's doing, I knew you were going to Sicily. You were talking about that, so I'm thinking to myself, you know, they might even pull him into Rebel here because he's got the angle going to Sweden. Even Paul Joseph Watson was looking at what you were doing pre-going to Sicily. So I'm thinking he could really get attached to any of these medias because you've got the perfect Scandinavian type, you know, angle of coming at it. You're the perfect contributor for that part of the world. Yeah. So I was expecting.
And I think the Sicily trip was a good trip, by the way. It was very successful.
Yeah. So I could see it coming. So for me for my interview to come up and yours not, it did raise a question as in why not. But obviously now you've told me about what's gone on. But then does that mean that Anne-Marie Waters has kind of got into Colin to kind of not give you any publicity because she diametrically opposes what you're all about, or what she believes you're all about?
Waters, she opposes all of my opinions, basically.
But that still shouldn't mean that she should then, because she's in cahoots with a media, to then stop them putting out any interview because talking about
well, they did
news and fake media, she's just done the exact same thing, surely.
Well, on the same day, the Rebel did Kaylin and George and Lucy and those guys. They filmed the Anne-Marie Waters campaign video for her. And from what I understand, from what Ezra said in his video, that was not something that he had permission them to do.
Right.
That was just something they did by themselves, freelancing on the side.
Right.
Not something that they were allowed to do.
Yeah.
According to Ezra.
And that might add to the direction he feels with them going maybe too far right or being more than what you would regard as unbiased. That's not unbiased.
No,
that's literally putting all your eggs in that camp and openly saying so, which can come back to bite you if you're supposed to be just reporting independent journalism right down the middle. I'm not saying myself I disagree with Anne-Marie. I don't really know the lady, so I don't follow her.
Well, she's in case you don't know, she is a former Labour. She is now trying to be UKIP leader. She is a feminist. Quite, I would say, radical feminist, to be honest. From what I had with the dinner with her, she got really angry at me. I said I was against feminism, and she got really upset. She was shouting really loudly at the dinner table, like all the other people in the restaurant were like, what's going on here? She was like, and it was quite funny. And she called me a misogynist, like Gavin McInnes. So she hates Gavin McInnes as well.
Oh, well.
Because we are misogynists, both of us, she thinks. And
but if she's displaying them views to you and curtailing you down for your own opinion, then has she won that argument? Because what does that make her as an individual? Now, I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with feminism. You can have that view if you want. I don't have to agree with that view.
That's free speech, but...
But unless I totally insult you to your face, you should not try and curtail what I'm trying to say to you.
And here's one more thing to the story that you might not know about yet. They're going to have I think it's a Gays Against Sharia rally in Bristol in October, I think it is. Or September, I can't remember exactly. I was due to speak there together with Tommy and a few of the other guys, Kaylin as well, and Anne-Marie Waters as well was due to speak there too. Anne-Marie Waters had me kicked from there.
Really?
Yeah, she didn't want to speak with the same platform as me, she said. She told the organizer.
See that?
So yeah, she had me kicked from speaking there, which is, well, I mean, that's kind of that's not a very nice thing to do. That's
well, it's not, and it's if we're trying to promote a new media where we're all open and friendly and exchange of ideas, however, whether you like them or not, she's only carrying on what the mainstream media. They're doing exactly.
You shouldn't be fighting each other.
You shouldn't be, whether you agree or not. It's silly because she's not winning anything by doing that. I'm starting to think that Anne-Marie Waters is a leftist plant that's trying to destroy UKIP. That's my suspicion now after all this has happened. I mean, she's not a right winger at all. She doesn't like free speech. She used the same SJW terms like misogynist, racist, homophobic, and all those things. So yeah. It does seem that way, and unless she's totally changed the political views, if she's come from the Labour Party, that is another flag that you think, well, okay. So like I say, I can't have too much of an opinion, but for anyone to stop anybody talking about ideals that they're not happy with, not comfortable with, then it's a recipe for disaster. We don't want a society like that.
And to be honest, there's some more things about Anne-Marie as well. She's strange. She's very leftist. She's feminist and all this SJW stuff. She's very, very SJW. But then on the other hand, her associate Jack Buckby that you saw, he was there with us in Sunderland. Right. You were there with him. I don't know if you spoke to him, but he was a former prominent guy in the BNP, British National Party.
Right.
And he was quite close to Nick Griffin. I don't know if you know him, but Nick Griffin,
Yeah.
He's basically a Nazi. He is a open Holocaust denier. He doesn't like Jews. He doesn't like race mixing. So I think your wife, she's white, isn't she?
She's white with
so he
Irish,
would,
Scottish heritage.
So he would disapprove of your marriage, to say that
Yes.
way. And this guy Jack Buckby, he was very close to this Nick Griffin who would disapprove of your marriage. He's against race mixing. He thinks white people should be white people only.
Right.
So yeah.
Which I don't agree with that view.
No, you should be allowed to have that opinion.
If he wants to feel that way, feel that way.
Yeah, but it's not the view that I have, and that Anne-Marie Waters, this Jack Buckby guy, is her closest associate.
Is associated with Nick Griffin, which doesn't look good.
That doesn't look good at all. I mean, he is more or less, well, not in the kind of left-wing everyone's a Nazi term, but this is like actually quite close to Nazi, like genuine Nazi, what these guys have been doing before. And this is Anne-Marie Waters' closest aide. It doesn't give the best look, to say that way. And they actually told me, they told me that if she loses the UKIP leadership election, she is going to start a new party called For Britain, with Jack Buckby as the deputy leader. So yeah,
could that be a fringe of something a bit more darker underneath when you scratch the surface? I mean, that's what it kind of sounds like. There's no proof to suggest that, but just by association, again, you've got to be so careful, and you've got to have morals and integrity and stand for what you believe in. But then if that belief, you think, well, the person that is the friend of that person who has that belief actually isn't Nazi.
He was in the party, the party of Nick Griffin, the BNP. Jack Buckby was he was a member of it and one of the prominent persons in that party. So it was, so he was very involved with it, and he is now Anne-Marie Waters' closest aide.
It could be totally seen the light. It could he could have had them like Scrooge. He could have been in bed at night, and the ghost of the past has come, the ghost of the future, and it's totally changed.
It could have changed, but he hasn't announced any of his former views at all. So.
Exactly. Because I can't.
And Jack was accusing me of being a Nazi after, as I told you about. I was a truth seeker. I was researching all kinds of stuff. I was looking into 9/11 and other conspiracy theories like the Holocaust as well. But on the other hand, I quickly found out after a couple of months research that the Holocaust did happen. But I had a few old tweets that were lying about where I was talking about it, where I was questioning it. And Jack saw some of those old tweets and he called me a Nazi. Even though I have gone out and said, no, I don't. I do believe that the Holocaust did happen. I'm not a Nazi. I was just a truth seeker researching conspiracy theories for a couple of months when I found out that the mainstream media was lying about everything. But he is still going around calling me a Nazi when he hasn't announced anything about his past, which has been a lot worse. He was actually with an actual Holocaust denier.
But he doesn't have to. He feels he's threw that out to you, so now you're in a position where you have to defend yourself. It's crazy when you call someone a racist, you immediately put them on the back foot, because there's no way to punch back with that without having to defend your honour, defend who you are. The only time it doesn't work is when the person you're calling a Nazi is actually brown-skinned. And that's when people, and I do feel for people where they do have to be put on that defence because someone has used a word that they know has got such powerful meaning and that will kill the argument and make them have to defend themselves before they can move forward and actually prove the point. And that is such a toxic word to use on anybody. And, he's no better off because, like you say, look at what he's doing. Look at the people he's affiliated with. So if anyone shouldn't be branding that word about, it shouldn't be him.
He should, Yeah, I mean, is there anything else? I think, I mean, we should wrap this up here shortly. I think we've been doing this, it's been going quite long here. What do you think?
Yeah,
Do you have
I'm
any,
ready to wrap it up.
do you
Yeah.
have any more? Do you have any things you'd like to add about? I think it's been a productive, good show the first time here. I think
I've really enjoyed it, Peter. We've gone through a lot of different points. We're probably better wrapping it up because otherwise,
it's gonna
you
get
know,
too long.
it'll be another 15, 20 minutes. And I'm glad to go there, but obviously you do want to
I
keep
think,
it to a certain
yeah,
time.
I'm going to, for the future, for all of you watching, we are going to do this at least once a week, hope maybe twice a week if we can, and we are going to do it at a certain set times and days as well, so you know when to tune in. I haven't decided the days and times yet, but that I will announce it on my Twitter at PeterSweden7 as soon as I know. It'll probably be, we maybe do like, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 p.m. on a Sunday evening maybe, and then maybe once more in the week if Phil has the time for it. And
See if the people want it, Peter. If the
yeah,
people want it, you know.
we've had good viewership today. I mean, we're up. We had we've had 110 viewers watching at the same time in the live stream,
Right.
and in total we had almost 700 views just in this hour, and then we will get a lot more views as well when it's uploaded to my channel as well. So this is just a live stream. So it's actually been my most viewed live stream ever. It seems to be quite popular.
Like it, record breakers.
Yeah. So and as well, and I think for the future, we're going to try and keep it at around 45 minutes. I think so it doesn't get too long for the viewers. So yeah, Patriot Report. I think that's a good name. What do you think, guys, in the live chat? Do you like the name Patriot Report? Let me know. Yeah, we'll be talking like we've done here, talking about current affairs, news, commenting on it from mine and Phil's perspective.
If I'd just like to say one last thing before I kind of go off the airwaves, mate. I don't know whether people know it. I'm sure people do. The whole experience has urged me forward to kind of stand up and say things. I do feel rebel media was not the right time, and boy, was that a good decision. But also I decided my path was just to, as we've mentioned before, was to open a YouTube page and just use it as a forum to rant, say how I feel about certain things that are going on around the world, how it all correlates together, the disparages, and just basically most things in general. That YouTube page is called Red Pill Phil.
I will link to it.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant.
I will link to it in the description. So when this video is uploaded to my channel, I'll put a link in the description below here to Red Pill Phil's channel, so you can watch his videos as well, because he's and go and subscribe to him as well. So everyone watching live here now, everyone that's watching this video later, go and subscribe to Red Pill Phil's channel. I will post a link here below, and you can also search, if you go on YouTube and you just search Red Pill Phil channel in the search bar, you will find his channel as well. So go and subscribe to him and watch his videos too, because he's been uploading his own videos. So go and do that, guys, to help him out. He doesn't have Twitter, but he has his own YouTube now.
Yeah, that's my only form of medium in terms of communication. It's working quite well. I'm enjoying myself. People seem to be responding well, resonating to the videos. People are leaving comments. I'll try and answer best I can. So yeah, it's all going well so far.
Yeah, and excellent. Yeah, is there anything else you would like to add, or is there anyone in the live chat any questions about today's reporting? I think I would like to leave. I think it's a good idea for future to leave about 5 minutes for some Q&A in the end, where people can just ask questions about some user engagement. I don't know if people have any questions now, but we will wrap this up here now. So if you have any questions in the live chat, maybe. Otherwise, we will wrap this up. And yeah, I think. What do you think, Phil?
That sounds about fine. I think we've covered all the points necessary, mate. Other than to say thank you for giving me this opportunity. It's great. You know, I do feel a bit of a chemistry talking about things. It does seem easy to kind of conduct. So that says we kind of bounce off each other. So hopefully that chemistry goes out there and people can resonate with it.
Yeah, I think we are quite good together as the hosts here. I think you and me
Yeah. Yeah.
works well together.
Ebony and ivory.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so I think we wrap this up here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Leave a like this video, give it a thumbs up. That helps the YouTube ratings. Subscribe if you haven't done so, and subscribe to Phil's channel as well. And share this video with all your friends. Let people know about this, because it's going to be, we're going to do this a lot more. We're covering all current affairs, so make sure to tune in and watch my Twitter for the dates, for the time that I will set for the future videos we will do. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.